Burkina Faso's President Ibrahim Traoré is rapidly gaining trust and support not only within his own country, but across the African continent, surpassing many other leaders in popularity. Just a few days ago, thousands of citizens took to the streets in protest, demanding an extension of Traoré's transitional period, which was originally scheduled to conclude this July. In a recent development, Burkina Faso's military leader has signed a new charter that allows him to stay in power for an additional 5 years. This decision was made after national consultations on Saturday, May 25th, in the capital Ouagadougou. The talks involved civil society, security forces, and transitional lawmakers, although most political parties chose not to participate. According to Colonel Musa Dialo, the chairman of the organizing committee of the national dialogue process, the transition period will last for 60 months, starting from July 2, 2024. As the decision-makers deliberated in the conference hall on whether to extend the transition, an intriguing scene unfolded outside. The youth, who've initially called for the captain to lead Burkina Faso for the next 10 years, soon made it clear that they would settle for nothing less than 5 years. A spokesperson for the youth boldly stated that if the meeting concluded without securing at least 5 years for President Traoré, they would insist on starting the meeting afresh. This statement, although light-hearted, carried a weighty message, as it was evident that the Burkinabe youth were resolute and would not back down. Those in the conference hall understood the unwavering determination of the youth and the potential consequences of not heeding their demands. This strong show of support from the youth has further solidified Traoré's position as a leader who commands the trust and respect of the people of Burkina Faso. In the aftermath of the national consultations in Burkina Faso, a series of significant decisions have been made to shape the country's transitional period. For a more comprehensive understanding of this matter, here is a summary of the key innovations adopted by the participants. Transition status upgrade. The president of the transition, previously the head of state, has now been elevated to the position of President of Burkina Faso, the supreme head of the National Armed Forces. Transition duration. The duration of the transition has been fixed at 60 months, starting from July 2, 2024. Eligibility for elections. The President of Burkina Faso, the Prime Minister, and the President of the Legislative Assembly are eligible to participate in the upcoming presidential, legislative, and municipal elections, which will mark the end of the transitional period. The creation of CORAG. A new organization called CORAG has been established, tasked with defining, monitoring, and controlling the implementation of the country's strategic vision. Representation adjustments. The quota system for representatives from the ex-AMP, ex-CFOB, and ex-OAN groups has been abolished, while maintaining 12 representatives from the ALT parties and political movements of diverse tendencies. Patriotism as a nomination requirement. Patriotism has been established as a prerequisite for nomination to the government and designation to the ALT. These comprehensive decisions reflect Burkina Faso's commitment to a smooth and structured transition, as the country aims to navigate a path toward stability and progress. The coming months will be crucial as the nation prepares for the upcoming elections and the implementation of the newly adopted measures. Following a brief suspension, the ongoing national dialogue in Burkina Faso has resulted in the adoption of several key recommendations to further strengthen the country's transition process. Expansion of ALT representation. The number of seats in the ALT, Transition Legislative Assembly, will be increased to ensure the inclusion of certain components of the nation's living forces that were previously not represented. Adjustments to the government structure. The number of government members will be increased, with certain ministries being restructured to enhance efficiency in addressing the country's pressing issues and priorities. Inclusive decision-making. Specific groups, including women, persons with disabilities, and the elderly, will be involved in all decision-making spheres to ensure their voices are heard and their needs are considered. accelerated access to basic social services. The transition process will prioritize the acceleration of the population's access to essential social services, ensuring that the basic needs of all Burkinabe citizens are met during this critical period. These recommendations, unanimously adopted by the participants, demonstrate Burkina Faso's commitment to a more inclusive, efficient, and responsive transition toward a brighter future for the nation. As the process unfolds, these measures are expected to play a pivotal role in shaping the country's path forward. During the momentous occasion, the Minister of Territorial Administration, Decentralization, and Security presided over the closing ceremony of the nationwide consultations in Burkina Faso. The event was marked by the presentation of the modified charter of the ALT, Transition Legislative Assembly, by His Excellency Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the President of Burkina Faso and the Supreme Leader of the National Armed Forces. On Saturday, May 25, 2024, after several hours of frank and constructive debate on the future of our dear country, we have reached the end of the work on the national consultations, the Minister stated in his closing speech. It brings me great pride and admiration to witness the profound commitments, responsibilities, sacrifices, and love for the country that have been manifested through the highly significant contributions and amendments to the Transition Charter. The Minister emphasized that all necessary actions will be taken to enable the various transition organs to continue the work of reclaiming the national territory and building a new Burkina Faso that will embody the aspirations of the Burkinabe people for a better future. Quoting the renowned lawyer and cultural icon, Master Titenj Fedar Basara, the Minister said, "It is a multitude of hands that lift the roof of the house so that the shadow is of the house." This poignant statement underscores the collective effort and unity of the Burkinabe people in shaping the country's transition. In a stirring closing ceremony, the Minister of Territorial Administration, Decentralization, and Security in Burkina Faso expressed profound gratitude to all the participants who answered the nation's call and contributed to the success of the transition dialogue. To all of you who, with the unity of hearts and the complementarity of ideas, responded to this call of the nation, I would like to express my deepest gratitude, the Minister said. Through the work of these consultations, we have demonstrated to the world that the sons and daughters of Burkina Faso have always been able to show discernment and clarity when it comes to safeguarding the supreme interests of our nation. The Minister emphasized that the participants have rewritten a new page in the history of Burkina Faso, a land with multi-century traditions built on patriotism, integrity, dialogue, and unwavering commitment. In the face of all the challenges and adversity, these sons and daughters have shown resilience and determination to overcome the impossible, united in heart and spirit, as well as in the diversity and complementarity of their skills. On behalf of His Excellency, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the head of state and supreme leader of the National Armed Forces, the Minister conveyed the pride and satisfaction of the Burkinabe people for the results achieved through the transition dialogue. The signing of the amended charter will provide the transition management bodies with all the necessary levels of action to complete the work of restoring the integrity of our territories and lay the foundation for lasting peace, the Minister stated. This process will be marked by the return of internally displaced persons to their respective locations. The Minister called upon all the forces of the nation, including the defense and security forces, as well as the volunteer defenders of the homeland, to remain mobilized and committed in the fight for the total liberation of Burkina Faso. The completion of the objectives assigned to the transition requires the contribution of the Burkinabe people in the cities, the countryside, and the diaspora, the Minister emphasized. We are embarking on a decisive turn in the history of our country, which requires a patriotic lead to succeed in the common work entrusted to the transition. In closing, the Minister congratulated all the actors who contributed to the success of the consultations, with a special mention of the organizing committee, led by Colonel Musa Dialo, for their commitment and determination. Long live Burkina Faso. The minister concluded, echoing the renewed spirit of national unity and collective effort to overcome the challenges facing the country.